welcome to MysteryHQ. In this video, I'm going to show you the best weapons to use in the Kowakujo's Dragon boss fight so you can defeat Nyxara fast and easily in Black Ops 7 Zombies. If this video helps you out, consider subscribing and hitting the like button. But now, let's jump straight into it. For this fight, I recommend using one of two weapons. Which one you choose mostly depends on whether you are playing standard mode or cursed mode, and especially which cursed tier you are on. Let's start with standard mode. Since the dragon is a flying boss that moves around a lot and her critical spots are quite small or consistently moving, we need a weapon that hits hard, has good ammo capacity and does not have too much recoil. After testing a few options, I think this Sokol 545 LMG is your best choice for standard mode and also for cursed tier 1 and tier 2. We'll talk about cursed tier 3 in a second, but first let's focus on the Sokol. Obviously we want it at max rarity and max Pack-a-Punch. As you can see in the footage, this weapon does crazy amount of damage when you keep hitting the boss's orange glowing critical spots and her eyes during the first phase. If she stays still for even a few seconds, you can sometimes skip almost an entire phase just by looking onto the weak spots and landing your shots properly. In the footage, I'm using this build which already works really well. You can copy the build code from the screen or from the description. But if you really want to push the weapon even further, I recommend trying this version with the bad fed attachment and the Dredge conversion. This makes the weapon burst fire with no need to reload and it barely overheats. These attachments were also recently buffed, so this setup works really well against the boss. The other weapon I highly recommend is the Novaline. And yes, I know, surprise surprise, this weapon is the best choice against every boss in the game. But for this specific fight, I mostly recommend it in cursed tier 3. The reason is very simple. Once you Pack-a-Punch it for the 4th time, it gets perfect recoil reduction. And against a flying boss that constantly moves around with smaller critical spots, that's extremely useful. In the background you can see me using it fully upgraded and I was able to skip the entire second phase in under 20 seconds while only activating one save zone during the phase. Here's the build with the build code I recommend using. Another big advantage of the Novaline is that it's a wall weapon. You can buy it from the wall between the flower garden area and the kitchens. This saves a lot of time because you don't need to spin the mystery box hoping for something like the Sokol. So overall, the Novaline is a great choice for curse mode, especially tier 3. But in tier 1 and tier 2, you still have to deal with the massive recoil, so if you have time and patience, it may still be worth spinning the box for something like the Sokol instead. Now there's another feature in the boss fight that can save you a huge amount of setup time. Before the fight even starts, a power-up called Vaiterion's Blessing can spawn in the arena. When you pick it up, it gives you some of the highest rarity loot in the game. This includes the highest rarity ether tool, the highest rarity Pack-a-Punch crystal, an ammo mod, a perk, and even the wonder weapon. So instead of spending points and salvage upgrading everything before entering, you can technically go in with a low rarity unpacked weapon and let the game give you the upgrades right before the fight. This is also how you can get the new Pack-a-Punch tier 4 crystal in cursed tier 3 called the Cataclysmic Ethereum Crystal. But I do need to add a very important disclaimer here. The ether tool and the Pack-a-Punch crystal are not guaranteed. So there's a chance you enter the fight expecting to upgrade your weapon, but the power-up does not give you the item you need. If that happens, saving and quitting is the only option, but be very careful when you do that. And I really cannot emphasize this enough. If you are going to save and quit, make sure you start the boss fight first. So pick up the first flag, place it down, let the dragon fly in and wait until you are properly in phase 1 before you hit save and quit. Right now the game has several bugs around this fight. If you save and quit before placing down the first flag, or if you save and quit during the final phase, the game can completely bug out. When you reload your save, you may not be able to re-enter the boss fight at all. This has already happened to me twice, that's why this video is a bit delayed, so I really hope Treyarch fixes this soon. And another quick tip for the fight is that insta-kill does seem to affect the boss slightly. The damage increase is not huge, but using temporal gift with Killjoy can still help you kill Nyxara a bit faster, which also might be very helpful for the Dragon Egg relic. And even if the boss damage increase is very small, insta-kill is still very useful for dealing with the Onis and getting the flags. Also, you should have a fully pack-a-punched wonder weapon before you enter the fight. The Necromancer is not only amazing for crowd control, but also deals around 20,000 damage per shot to the boss's critical spots. So if you can land your shots properly, the Necromancer can actually be better than most other weapons for damage. As for the boss fight mechanics itself, it's pretty straightforward. You need to kill the Onis, charge the flags, and then stand inside the safe zone to shoot the boss while you are basically invincible. As the fight progresses, more flags will appear around the area. In Curse mode, you start with 2 flags and eventually end with 4 in the final phase. And also in Curse mode, Nyxara does all her attacks even from the start. Also, if the other blessings appear during the fight, you should pick them up during phase 3. Calteris' blessing make you shoot fireballs for a short time, which can help you with damage, and Dravakar's blessing activates all save zones at once, so you can focus on damaging the boss. Anyway, that's pretty much it for this video. I really hope you find it helpful, and if you did, please leave a like, subscribe and drop a comment ranking every boss fight in the game. I'm very curious about your takes. So thank you all so much for watching, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.